All right, very good. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting of the Finance Committee, its regular meeting, open at 2:30 p.m. It's Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. There's no member of the public present in the room with us. Is there anybody online? Once again, suggesting this might be the most popular meeting of the entire organization. Are there any comments from the committee members?
I have none.
Staff? All right, very good. Let's go then to fraud risk discussion, please.
We have nothing to report.
It's always good. No one's called you saying you can pay for state registration with Apple Music cards or anything like that?
Not yet.
All right, very good. Payment processor, item 4, discuss switching the district's payment processor from Civic Pay to Express Bill Pay for increased customer payment options and features.
Yeah, so currently, through Springbrook, we use their app. I don't know if it's really an app, but their module for Civic Pay, which allows customers to pay online. We use it in-house to process the credit card payments. We can send out e-bills rather than paper bills if they sign up through Civic Pay. And so that's what we've been using. Springbrook has a third-party partner called Express Bill Pay that does similar things, but in a more robust fashion. You are able to set up an account online. You can link multiple accounts together. You can make your payments online. You can schedule your payments. You can set up your own auto pay. It can send you bill reminders, late payment reminders. We can do all that also in the office through our own portal. And all of this is only $200 more a year. It also adds additional features such as payment on the phone. We take payments on the phone, but there's the interactive voice recognition system that they have as well. So we can shift payment, our customer accounts, people answering calls just to take payments. And that can shift over to one of those IVR systems. And we can focus on helping customers and answering phones for questions and problems with accounts.
What's the secret prompt for getting to a human being?
I think you just say human being or something. I don't know.
To pay your bill, press 1 or say 1.
But
Got the language question as well.
I did. You're right. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, so it's just a more robust feature, more robust features. It actually has an app in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. So it just gives you more options, the customers more options for very little additional cost per year.
Does our current provider have an app?
No.
And this one does.
Yes.
All right. This you can also call up on the telephone after you jump the language selection hurdle. It will give you a bunch of automated choices that all the people calling will find greatly irritating.
It could.
And you can say, give me a human, and it will get you to a human.
So what we'd do is modify our phone tree here, so you'd still be calling the same number here.
Okay.
And if it's only for making a payment, then it would transfer you over to the IVR, but questions on account, right? Or if they still want to talk to a live person, they'll be able to hit.
That'll be a menu choice.
Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Do you anticipate that it'll make the operations inside the building more efficient? Or?
That's the hope. Take away some of the, those more easily answered phone calls. If you can just call up and pay on the phone, and you don't have to necessarily tie up a customer accounts person. They can maybe less messages they have to return because they're all on the phone at the same time, or other work that they have. Yeah, use their app.
Like, do you say little apps on the phone?
Yeah, right now our auto pay, we have to you have to come in, you have to sign a form, and then we actually do a manual process to withdraw that money from the bank every month. This, you set it up, you can set it up with your credit card rather than a bank, and you control that. And you can put limits, like if my bill, auto pay it unless it's over $350, then let me know, don't pay it. You can put thresholds on there. It's just a bunch of cool features that we don't offer and can't offer.
You say this is subsidiary to some company that's offering us a service right now?
So Springbrook, which is our accounting software, it's a partner vendor with them.
Okay.
So it's
And the other-
API connects
And the other
supposedly.
vendor, I'm sorry, please do go on.
Yeah, no, that's all I was gonna say.
And our current vendor is not a partner of API.
The
Partner of
Civic
Spring,
Pay, the
right.
Civic Pay is provided directly by Springbrook. They
Okay.
just don't have as many features.
I see. So they have a rudimentary functionality and they've farmed out
Yeah,
a subsidiary company
right.
with a better, all right. So what are the privacy rules like? Have you seen them?
I don't have them here, but it's the same with all they follow the same as the financial institutions. I can't remember what the exact, they have an acronym and I can't remember what it is,
Okay, so
but
we're paying the same, we're paying our accounting software company only $200 more per year for that.
so we pay about $600 to $700 a month for Civic Pay.
Uh-huh.
Over the course of a year, the bill pay would only be $200 more in total.
Across.
So it would
Per-
offset that plus $200.
Is that per month? 200 per month or
No, so it'd be like
something less than?
$720 per month rather
Okay,
than 700.
All right. All right. It's a minor difference
Yeah.
in cost. All right. We have anyone from the public? All right, then I'm going to go ahead and
Yeah, what do you need for us? Do you
Yeah.
need us to?
recommendation.
Just a
to-
recommendation would be,
Okay. I will move to recommend that we increase our service to the customer by buying this tool set.
All right, I concur.
And what, we need to bring it to the board, or is it something we can just take
Yeah.
care of? here?
I'll take it to the board.
It's on the agenda for the regular board meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, GA imported water costs.
Was kind of George's item, but we have kind of finished up the evaluation for the cost of imported water through the pipeline. Not necessarily how it's gonna be parsed out between the different pumpers, but just the overall costs. And as was mentioned at the Groundwater Authority meeting, our draft has been provided to the GA for comment, and I believe that's where we're at this point.
You haven't
Okay.
Received anything from them yet?
Not that I'm aware of.
That period for them to reply is, I think, passed.
I think they've got maybe a few days left this week, but.
Oh, no, you're right. Absolutely. I keep thinking that the special board meeting is the board meeting. It is not. Right, good. So they can still reply, which is
Yeah.
what we were looking for. Perfect.
And I believe Capital Corps is supposed to be doing a presentation on Monday at the board meeting
Yes.
based on those costs.
Okay.
All right, and George was also working the, what we thought the estimated cost increase for individual clients, was that also?
Was
being
that-
part of
Yeah,
it?
well, we're
Or
still
was
working
that
on that.
tie?
It's probably fallen on me, yeah.
Right.
So we're working on that, yeah.
All right, are there any other comments or questions? Then we'll move on to item 6, first quarter 2024 investment reports. That sounds exciting.
Yeah, so this is the quarterly investment report. We have unrestricted funds of 8.8 million and restricted of 8.1 million.
Hmm.
Of that restricted, 7.5 million of that is the bond funds. So it's restricted, but it's going towards the use of the Northwest Transmission Pipeline and the Springer line.
Okay. Mal, no questions?
No question.
Okay, very good. That's a lot of money. Financial statements. Item 7.
Oh, my goodness. You have them in there? I've got graphs. I don't have the financial statements.
I think they're. Budget.
That's the budget.
Okay.
If you want to skip to the accounts payable, I will go print out the monthly.
I think I have it.
That's the accounts payable, yeah. So if you want to look through the accounts payable, ask questions, we got Jason, Renee that can answer, and I'll go print out the.
We do have one member of the public online. Should you stop and ask if the public has comments?
Thank you.
Here's the accounts payable. That's the budget for 2024-25. All right. You,
Behind the budget.
right, I finally
Yeah.
grabbed it up.
If there's anything in here that you have a question about, we can probably answer that, no problem.
Normally our friend Ty handles those things.
Yeah.
Aqua,
Insurance.
71,000, CalPERS, we know what that is.
Mhm.
Desert Industrial, I think, don't they,
They provide
parts,
Yeah.
right?
groundwater authority, you know.
That's the pass through. The auditor controller for 10 grand.
That's one of our funds, yeah,
Oh, okay.
That's paying ourselves.
They hold they hold money for everybody.
right.
Krieger and Stewart for 22. Southern California Edison for 48. Imagine what we'd be paying if we didn't have solar panels. Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority for printed on 5/22, there's $160,000.
Correct.
That's a replenishment fee, I believe.
Yep. McMurtry, Hartsock and Worth, St. Lawrence,
Mhm.
Murphy and Everett's. Onstott Construction.
Paving.
Road patching.
Oh, yes.
Hmm.
We had that was probably in plants and equipment, wasn't it? Ramble America's Engineering Solution. Thank you. Mal, do you see anything on here that raises alarm, causes you to have questions?
No, it's kind of what I remember a couple of years ago when I was on the committee, so
Same
Just
stuff.
more.
just more.
Yep.
Kind of curious about Edison. How has the Edison fee been rising over the past couple of years? Do you have a general feel for that?
Yeah, it's probably, we'll probably be 300,000 to 400,000 over budget this year.
Wow.
From payment, I'm sorry, from increases this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
In spite of the solar.
in spite of the solar, I mean, it is offsetting costs, but
There's
they
been a
changed the time of use.
shifted time of use. There's been a
Mhm.
change in operations due to the Northwest transmission line being down. We're having to run the plants more, which are a lot more as far as electricity
Yeah.
usage goes, so.
Time of use is lowest during the day right now, right? Because we're over.
Time of usage is now 4 to 9.
the 9.
Yeah. So they're shifting it outside of the normal production of solar.
Is there any way that we could, with that knowledge, that we could play the game and,
We can play the game when I get the Northwest transmission line back online.
okay.
So hopefully, yeah, next year, we're hoping to see some savings in that area.
Up early in the morning or
Yeah.
something like that.
Flexibility right now.
Right.
So the aggregate, I saw a good short video on explanation of inflation. And since 2020, while the inflation is being touted as being very small right now, 2 to 3%, the aggregate inflation since 2020 has been over 20%.
Yeah, it's baked in 20%.
Yep,
All this
so-
is on top of that.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing how they can just pretend that those previous increases don't count anymore because
Yep.
it's just what's
COVID.
happening this year.
That's right. But everybody knows that this isn't great, and it's hitting people individually and it's hitting the water district as well.
We're actually fortunate though, the electric rates over on the other side of the Sierras are much worse.
Yeah.
We have a
Mhm.
couple of kids in Bakersfield that are really scratching their heads trying to figure out how to get ahead of the use or the charges. Anyway, sideline.
All right.
Everything looks good to me.
We
Let's
do
go-
need,
Go back to revenues and let's go ahead and deal with that, which you've just brought us.
can we get a recommendation on the accounts payable first?
Oh, sure. Yes, I think we should send it to the board with a recommendation and be accepted.
I agree.
Okay. All right, so through May of 2024, our revenues are at 13.7 million. And if you see, the only thing currently on revenues that we're underperforming on is the GA fees, and that's because we have gone to establish that 4390 recharge number. I guess a little bit on non-operating income as well, which is probably some interest earnings and whatnot.
So the bulk of the difference is because between budget and actuals is the discount we have from the GA fee because of overpayment last year.
No, we're still realizing full payment, but the budget was based on a lower recharge number, the 4110 instead
Okay.
of the 4390.
Ah, all right.
So it's good to push back on that.
Yeah. On the expenditure side, we're at 14,979,000, which is about 953,000 below budget. And you see the bulk once again is GA fees. So our net is a negative 1.2 million, which is actually 171,000 better than budget.
So we expected that we would be operating in slightly in the red this year, and we are not as red as it could have been.
Right, we'll be around what we budgeted this year as I think about a negative 600,000.
As a percentage of the total budget, that's not unmanageable.
Right.
So, okay. We thought we'd be close to that as the new rates came into effect.
New rates,
We
yeah.
Right, thank
we
you.
have a question. Just so you know.
Yes,
Might want to tell her.
They're being asked on mute, so there you go. Go ahead, caller.
Okay, I have,
could you please state your name and?
yeah, this is Renee Westalusk, and I was at the last committee meeting too.
Yeah.
The questions I have, the first one is what are the reasons for the water district for being behind in revenue to cover the expenses? Because it's been over a year and a few months since we adopted that new rate study that changed how everything was being charged for.
Rate increases were being phased in over a number of years.
Right, as well as during the year, we get most of our revenue during the summer months because as you'd expect, there's more consumption of water during the summer months. So anywhere from October to April, even into May, we're not fully covering all of our expenditures are much more linear than our revenues. And so we fall behind and then we make it up as we get into the summer months.
And we had a rainy spring,
And
which cut into water sales. And overall, we've seen more than a decade of decrease in water usage from our ratepayers. So that also every year kind of lowers the income from that portion of the bill. Did that answer the question, Renee?
I guess, yeah.
Kind of, maybe.
How
All right.
long is it gonna take for us to catch up, for the water district to catch up? So that is it gonna be done by the end of this year?
By
They'll
the-
be caught up?
By the end of this year, we still won't quite be caught up as far as a net zero. We budgeted a shortfall of about $600,000. Now, mind you, this isn't necessarily a cash shortfall. This is an expenditures versus revenue shortfall. We have a large item of currently at $3 million for depreciation. I think it's 3.3 million for the whole year. That's a non-cash expenditure, and that's what we would be investing into infrastructure and capital projects. So what that means, if we have a shortfall of 600,000, that's 600,000 that we're not reinvesting into the infrastructure. Doesn't necessarily impact operations, and it's not something we desire to have a shortfall there, but that's something that the board has felt we can live with until we can get everything in place and be at that net zero.
And we do have reserves.
We do have reserves.
So it isn't as if our bank account is empty.
Okay, so you're saying it's gonna take a few years to really get to zero with this new rate study that came into being like a year and 3 months ago.
Yes.
So rather than jump the rates up dramatically to cover the last 4 years of high inflation, we thought it was better for the water district and their ratepayers if we spread that increase out over time.
And then I just have another question regarding was there any discussion on the fraud risk?
Yeah, there's nothing to report. That's
No.
that's a standing item in case something does occur.
Oh, okay, so there was really no report. Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing going on. Nothing to
Has
report.
the district ever had experienced any fraudulent activity that would affect, I'm talking about the water district's finances or anything?
Not since I've been here, and I don't remember even before then any
Someone who did like, tried to steal someone's identity, I thought.
an identity thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Open an account.
Staff is shaking their heads. I
Yeah,
don't think,
it's a
in
rarity.
our recent, in our memory, no.
Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad there's no one attempting yet.
Yet, I know, right?
I guess I get worried. Water districts, I think, are vulnerable to possible cyber attacks and being held hostage for ransom or whatever. I don't know. It just seems like,
Yeah, we've got an IT guy that's pretty on top of that stuff.
Mhm.
okay,
We can't go into detail because of
Right.
course, but
right.
they're aware.
Well aware.
Our operations manager is aware of it and steps are being taken.
Okay.
And it is a concern for the board as well. And I have pestered Jason a couple of times about it. His answers have been consistent, which is a good sign. So did that answer the question, Renee?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Go ahead, Ty.
Other items, capital expenditures at 2.2 million for the year, debt service principal 1 million, and total cash dollars paid to the GA to date 14,018,816.
Okay. Did you wish to go over the charts or did you want to move on to the next item?
We can move on to the next.
Mal, any questions, comments,
None for me.
observations?
Great work.
All right. Item 8, general fund and capital projects budgets.
Okay. So we've gone back and forth on this quite a bit internally to get you a product that meets our debt service coverage ratio within, prioritizing what we can do and what we can't do. We currently have water sales budgeted at 97.5%. We used to do 95%, but I believe we've seen the bottom. We've seen months this year where we've actually consumed more than previous year and some were a little less. So I felt good about reducing that variance down to 97.5% to give us a little buffer. And of course, we have another 8% rate increase that's scheduled for January 1st. The GA fees now recognize the 4390 acre feet of the Federal Reserve that were allotted. We've adjusted the capital contributions down. It's hard to rely on new building. We've been pretty accurate some years and not so accurate other years. So we're kind of playing it safe on that. And so you see a total revenues in the proposed budget of 16,879,000. On the expenditure side, this is actually increasing due to power and chemical costs. We got property and liability insurance increases that have actually kind of gone up a lot this last year. We've got recognizing the legal cost increases. We do have an election this year, so we budgeted money for that. We're recognizing the 2024 bond interest payments within this budget. And so that puts us, I think I already said 18,230,000 for expenditures, which for a net comes out to a negative $1.3 million. So we're not gonna be able to fund a lot of capital this next year.
What's the election costs?
So every year there's an election, and if we have actual directors on the ballot, we have to pay both San Bernardino County and Kern County to have you on the ballot.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if they're, okay, interesting, like question can
We
stay.
have three that'll be on the,
Right. So let's say when Stan and I stood for reelection, we weren't on the ballot because no one stood up. Did they make you pay the?
We
to
did.
pay?
We did not pay, no.
Okay.
So we put it in there just in case.
I don't, that's grand planning.
so you didn't have poll papers the year that you,
I did, because they didn't know that we weren't,
Challenged.
we weren't being challenged. I also had
Okay.
to pay my $800 fee for
of course.
the commentary in
Oh.
the handbook, which of course never got published and wasn't refunded, but it was probably the best $800 I ever contributed to the county, because,
And you got to drive to Bakersfield to do it.
yeah, that was exciting too. There's always something to do in Bakersfield.
So that's the big picture of the budget. Just to go over the next page, which is actually the cash flow portion. We're starting with beginning cash of 20 million. Total revenues for the year is 16,879,000. We have total expenditures. And this includes capital improvement projects of 10,132,500, which is those two main big, the Northwest Transmission Pipeline, the Springer Pipeline, and then some other minor capital expenditures. So for total expenditures of 26,298,690. So we have a net cash flow of 9,418,000, and that is basically using up the $3 million grant and the $7.5 million in bond funding. So ending cash of 10,717,000. You see all the reserves there, and we have an unrestricted cash balance of 1,038,000. And the one number we're really interested in is that debt service coverage. That puts us at the 1.22% mark, where our bond covenants require at least 1.2.
So all right, we do meet the coverage.
We meet the coverage, we meet our fund reserve target of 6 months O&M. We do not meet the capital replacement target yet, which is 10,800,000 for booster station, tank and pipeline, but
That's right. We've just replaced a whole pile of them and expended that money, have we not? It's gonna take a while to build it back.
right, exactly.
I understand we had a leak.
Over the weekend? or-
Yes.
Last week, yes, we did.
Okay.
It was a pretty good one. It was shooting out pretty far.
Yeah, it's a 6-inch AC main over in the Cottonwood track. Looked like a rubber had worn down and was eating away at the pipe, and finally it just blew out.
Okay.
Lost about 183,000 gallons based on calculations. Most of it was shooting at the residents
I'll bet
on the
they were
corner there.
thrilled.
Their door was open in the video I saw. Is that?
It was closed.
was
Okay.
closed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Opened it for dramatic effect.
That is, okay. So it was just age of the rubber in the pipeline that caused the problem?
Yeah, it's an older pipe,
What, 1970s?
Mhm.
probably.
Okay.
Fairly straightforward to repair.
Yeah, we just cut it. We snapped out the piece and put a PVC one in there and back in business.
Okay.
Do we anticipate any, I guess we've got insurance for things like this, so they shouldn't necessarily see a cost against our budget.
There'll be a cost for the repair of the pipe and surrounding area. If there's any damage or any claims, that does come out of insurance.
The
Yeah,
homeowner and the street and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Well, the street and the cross gutter and the sidewalk and the ramps and everything, we are working in conjunction with the city to get those replaced because they were looking at doing repairs in that neighborhood anyway. So they're working with us on that.
Some cost sharing there.
Maybe we made their job easier.
Probably
Not their
not.
scheduler's
I
job.
appreciate them working with us.
Yeah, their schedule is posed, if you pardon the phrase. Okay, carry on, Ty.
That's kind of it. The rest is actually just the details going through each account line. I'd recommend looking over that over the next week for discussion on Monday.
Okay.
There is the capital improvement budget, if you want to look at that. That's the last 2 pages, the long pages.
Okay.
And mostly focusing on the Springer line, the Inyo line. And like I said, there's a couple other projects in here. There's the Gateway Tank Recoat. Some service lateral replacements that we do every year. The meter exchanges continuing on. And then some other minor,
What's the red?
Our fiscal starts on the 1st of July.
1st of July.
Okay.
The 2026, if you see those numbers in red, those are items that we pushed back because we did not have enough revenue coming in to cover them, so.
That's regular maintenance.
Some of it's, these are projects.
These are a lot of things that need to get replaced.
Okay. So you're nursing them along. They do need to be replaced.
They need to be replaced.
Okay.
Yes, we're nursing them along. We're trying to make some magic happen.
That Springer line will, the repair of the Springer line, as I say, for the public's sake, we have a neck down in the pipe diameters on Springer, and that causes some interesting changes in pressure along the line.
Yeah,
And if we
so
can get that corrected, that will possibly avoid unanticipated water losses. And
Yeah.
that will, in the long run, be much better.
it hopefully will allow us to utilize the southwest well field as we would like to.
So right now, it necks it down and we can't, it's under certain calamitous conditions, we can't, you get as much water out of the southwest water field as we would like. Okay. Maloney, questions, comments?
Nothing jumping out at me. So the green here are ones that we plan to do this year,
The,
right?
the green is being paid for with the grant
Okay.
or the bond funding.
Right.
Just
Okay.
to kind of differentiate the funding source.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
$10 million in projects for this year and change.
Good.
All right. When you would like from us,
Nothing really. This was more informational to give it to you in preparation of Monday's meeting.
So this will
Okay.
be a board discussion point.
Yes,
Does the rest of the board have copies of these?
it'll go out in the board packet.
so a quick question for you, given the current rate structure from the 218 study and the board vote previously, do you anticipate that those rate changes will carry us through, or do we need to revisit some of the rate changes?
I think we need to do our due diligence and take a good look and see.
So what I hear is that you'd like to do an analysis and
Yeah.
decide if in fact that is necessary.
Right.
Okay. So I won't hold your feet to the fire. That's as good as answer as I could hope for, other than, no, everything's peachy keen.
Yeah.
Right, so
It is concerning seeing our net go from a -681 down to a -1.3. We're still covering everything, but as you can see, we've got some items that keep getting pushed back that we really need to address.
Deferred maintenance is always asking for trouble.
Yes.
Inflation continues to wallop everybody. And
Yeah.
appreciate hearing that. As soon as you are able to produce one that you feel is,
Doesn't get cheaper as we push it well.
And
no,
and I
it
know
does
that,
not.
I know that the board knows that deferred maintenance will eventually become emergency maintenance.
Yes,
Yeah.
So
yep. The board,
It goes the other way.
yeah. Yes. Okay, all right. We've already covered accounts payable. Are there any future agenda items? Nope. All right, then, let's go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 3:04 PM.
Good job.
Thank you for your attendance.